Thank you. I appreciate it, Pat. So I'm working at the Jocelyn Wellness Center, and one of the classes I teach is Brain Boot Camp. And I'm going to give you a little sample of Brain Boot Camp, what it's about. It's normally a 2-week program, and it's 2 hours on Wednesday, usually from 1 to 3, and we're doing it Zoom, at least for now. I also do a grief recovery class. That's 8 weeks. That right now that's on hold. I do Aging Mastery, which is a 5-week course, and that course we teach different subjects, and we usually have guest speakers come in. So we teach about falls prevention, exercise, nutrition, sleep, financial stuff. So it's all different things that you can learn. And I also do one-on-one problem solving. And one of the things you can actually bring to me is if you want to implement some of these things at Brain Boot Camp, or just implement using brain exercises, or get more information and want one-on-one, I can do that with you. Right now I have a client who is diagnosed with early set Alzheimer's, and we're working out an exercise program and a brain exercise program. So all sorts of different things. I can help you with that too. So we can begin. So I look at the brain just like you exercise your muscles, because if you don't exercise your muscles get atrophy. So if you don't exercise your brain shrinks, and the synapses don't work as well, and your brain doesn't work as well. So anything you can do for your brain to help it expand and learn and grow is good for your brain. So hopefully we can learn a few things, you can implement them, and your brain is going to grow a little bit today. So we can begin. So how do we remember? How do we remember past events? Normally we just remember things and they just normally, we know. But let's kind of backtrack and figure out how we really remember, so we can remember things in the future. And we can start the slides now. Thank you. So memory. So I called this memory, techniques to help you remember. And we're going to talk about that. Go ahead. And who are the fastest learners, and what do they have in common? Does anyone have any idea who the fastest learners are? Give you a few seconds to think about it. What do they have in common? They are children, babies. Because think about when babies learn to, when they're first born, they learn to crawl, they learn to move, they get up and they try to walk. And if they don't walk, they fall. And then they'll get up again. So they keep trying and trying and trying. Whereas adults, if we don't succeed at something, a lot of times we'll just stop doing it. So we want to remember how they do it. They get up again, again and again. And they also are curious. So are we curious? Normally we're not so curious anymore. And if we're curious, our minds are working and thinking. So you could be curious, like, what are we going to talk about? What's going to go on here? What am I going to learn today? Is this going to be useful? How am I to implement it? So if we think about curiosity, then we can think about, okay, I'm going to learn something. Because if you don't ask questions, then you won't be looking for the answers. So we want to be curious about this. And also we want to be motivated. How motivated are we to do something and learn something? If your brain's at stake and your memory's at stake, I think you're a little more motivated to learn, which probably most of you are. If you're in your teenage years, you're really not thinking about learning stuff. You may learn it because you have to go to college and you want to succeed in life, but we're at an age now where we're not learning so much. So it's really important to figure out how we can implement learning in our lives now. And the next one is, so babies. So we talked about babies use all their senses, and we kind of use more our visual senses. So we have babies, the first babies putting something in their mouth. Don't we always tell babies, don't put it in your mouth, don't eat it, don't touch it. The second one is visualization. She's looking at a doll and she's kind of happy and excited. We visualize a lot. Most of our senses that we're using is visualization. I'm going to try to teach you how to use those other senses. Also, the next one is the little girl hugging a teddy bear. and or a little stuffed thing, and that's touch. When we touch things, we remember things. Also, the other little girl is smelling a flower, and how much do we use our senses to remember? A lot of times, helping smell will remember things. And the third and the last one is noise. We use our ears to hear. So you're listening to me right now, and some of you may be auditory learners, which means that you learn from hearing things. Some of you may be visual learners and you learn from seeing things. So in this presentation, I'm using both. So you can see and you can hear. And the next one, please. So this is adults. Here we are, 5 senses that humans use to perceive the world. And we forget about those. So we're going to learn and remember those today. I'm a little kid. Okay, next. And emotions. So a lot of times we remember things by emotions. We went to a party or we went to a graduation and we were really happy. We were excited. Our grandkid, our daughter, son, someone graduated college. We were so proud of them. They got a degree and we're happy. So we'll probably remember that event for a long time because a strong emotion was attached to it. We may also remember that when we were in love, the little icon with the big lips, it's like, when was the first time you were in love? What happened? Were you happy? How did you feel? And you'll remember your wedding day probably if you got married, or you'll remember your first love. So a lot of times emotion helps us remember things. Memories. So we make lots of memories. What do we remember? We remember school, we remember graduation, trips, family things. And usually these things, again, are associated with emotions. So that's how we remember things. Okay, and learning. So if we remember that learning is fun and it's educational, and we ask why, when, how, who, where, we're keeping active our mind. And now in the corner you see e-learning, because that's basically how we're doing a lot of our learning now. But we're still reading books, we're still going to the movies. And the thing is, when you read a book or you go to the movies, do you discuss it afterwards? Because if you discuss it afterwards, you'll remember it more. So you may want to think about when you go with your loved one that has Alzheimer's or beginning stages, after you go to an event, talk about the event. What happened at the event? Who was there? What was the food that was there? What did you hear there? All the senses, you can use those to help you. And the next one. So the first one is sight visualization. And we use our sight to judge depth and interpret new information. So we're using it, what's going on, and identify color. So those are the primary things that we use our sight for. So if we don't have sight, a lot of times we won't be able to judge how far something is. And we won't be able to get information into us. So here's a bunch of sights. Now, you think about these sights, and if I asked you to memorize 5 of these sights, what you might do is you might memorize them of places you've been to before, or things you've seen before, or that you've wanted to go see, or maybe like the beach. It's like, oh, I'd love to be at the beach this summer. And the waterfall, maybe you've been to Hawaii and you think, I can remember that picture because I've been there, or any of the other pictures. So that's how you sometimes remember things, is you look at them, put emotion to it, and then you can later retrieve that information. So the next one is hearing. So what do we use our ears for? We detect vibration we detect vibration in air particles that go into our brain, and that's how we hear. It also helps us maintain balance. If you've ever had vertigo, a lot of times they'll say, do you have an inner ear infection? So that may be affecting your balance. Also, regulate sinus pressure. And I don't know about you guys, but I was thinking when I saw this picture, I thought, we're all wearing the mask now. I hope none of us sneeze in that mask, because I'm thinking, well, maybe the air particles don't even come into our nose. So that's hearing. So right now you're hearing this and you're also watching it. So the next one, please. So here's some sounds that we hear. So sometimes we'll think about, oh, the person, right, that's drilling something. We hate that sound. Or we may be at a concert and think, yay, that's great sound. So there's positive sounds and there's negative sounds. And they're finding out that if a person has impairment of cognitive decline and they really aren't verbal, if you have them listen to music from their air, it may help them and bring them out a little so they'll be able to talk or communicate a little bit. Somehow the music is in them deep inside, or they might even start being able to sing a song or relate to the music, tap their feet, do some type of movement. So hearing and sound is really important. It's in there somewhere, even if they can't communicate a lot of times. So I don't know if you've ever tried that or anyone suggested it, but that might be a good suggestion to try. And the next one, so smelling, it's really interesting. It's the strongest connection to memory. So sometimes smells can be good. You can smell flowers, you can smell perfume, you can smell, really nice things, somewhere. Sometimes you go into a room and you go, oh, it just smells so nice in here. And then sometimes chemicals, you may smell chemicals. There may be like a gas leak, or there may be some other things that the smell is really bad. And right away, oh no, this isn't good, and you get away. And smelling things long forgotten. And this picture reminded me when I was a little kid, there used to be a restaurant and there was like an alligator underneath like the walkway. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. That's something I hadn't thought of. So, and sometimes you go and you think about, oh, your mom cooked some great food and you smell some good cookies, and it brings you right back to that time period when you were that age, remembering what was going on. So smelling can bring us right back and help us with our memories. So here's some things that you can smell. And we've all smelled cookies, we smelled cheese that kind of smells, fruit, candles that smell, fish, of course, flowers, stinky laundry. So some of those things are smelling. And taste. So tongue. So your tongue can sense hot and cold. And you can also taste the sour, bitter, sweet, salty. So food has different tastes. That's how we like it. Some food is good for us and some food can be poisonous, and we don't want to eat that food. So if we use our tongue and our taste to remember certain things, if I asked you to think about when you had a great meal, that might bring you back to a good memory. And maybe like even say, when you're out of the country, what was the best meal you had? And you can kind of feel those senses using the tongue and your other senses if you think about it. So here is lots of different tastes. So if I was to say, think about 5 of these things in the picture, you would probably relate something you liked in the picture. Maybe you'd like that strawberry shortcake. Maybe you'd like the chocolate desserts. Maybe you're into health and you'd like the fruit. So I'd say, think about 5 of these things and then ask you later, what were they? Would you be able to remember them? So we want to use our brain to exercise it. And this is one way of doing that, is looking at pictures and then thinking, okay, how can I remember these things? The next one is touch, skin. So physical touch, contact. So right now we're not doing a lot of the physical touch. So hopefully maybe you have some animals in your house, you can hug them and get your touch from them. Maybe there's someone that lives with you that you could do that. Also, when we get our blood pressure taken, the pressure on the cuff, that's another way of sensation. And then of course the heat, it's all coming, or is it, I think it's already here. So we can also sense that on our bodies, and also pain, unfortunately. So sometimes we have that. And some of the pictures that we can associate with touch are some of these. And the picture with the feet, that's reflexology. A lot of times if you go to an acupuncture or you have someone work on your body, there's reflexes that are all over in your body. And all those are touching and feeling. So, who are the fastest learners? Did you guys get children? And what do they have in common? Curiosity. And what helps us remember events? Emotions. So now I'm going to give you some exercises so you can keep going. So pictures. So use your senses to remember. So we're going to have some pictures here. So I want you to think about what you're seeing. I want you to think about what you're smelling. Can you smell in this picture? What if you felt this picture? And what noise could you possibly hear in this picture? And is there any taste? So the first picture, I'll go over it with you. And the first picture is a lion and a cub. So you might see this picture and go, okay, lion and a cub. What else are you noticing in this picture? So look at this picture, use all your senses, because then I'm going to ask you some questions about this picture. Just take a few seconds to look at it. So, are we ready? You guys got the picture? Okay, go ahead. Thanks. So how many animals were in the picture? 2. Very good. What kind of animals? Did you get that? Tiger and a cub? And how were they positioned? Nose to nose. Very good. And where were they? Where would you say? Could you tell where they were in the background? I think they were in like some type of forest or outdoors. And how about what color eyes did one of them have? Okay, we're just practicing, so go ahead. I think, can you see its green eyes? Looks like maybe the baby has blue eyes, but you can see the mom a little better. And the grass in the background, did you get that? Okay. So the answers were, there were 2, lion and a cub. They were nose to nose. I said they were in a forest and the mom had green eyes. Okay, how about the next picture? So remember, use all your senses here. Okay, you guys got it? Okay, here's your questions. How many animals were in the picture? 2. What kind of animals? Okay, some birds or hawks. How were they positioned? On a perch? Did you guys get that? Where were they? Did you guys check that out? I said they were somewhere cold. I think they were somewhere cold. What was the weather like? Cold and snowy. And what was in the background? Snow-capped
mountains.
Yeah, very good. Okay, and the answers are, I think you got them right. How many animals were in the picture? 2. What kind of animals? They were hawks or bald eagles?
I think they were eagles.
Eagles, okay. And they were sitting on a bark. They were near a lake in the mountains. The weather was cold and snow-covered mountains. Should we go back and look at the picture one more time?
Yes.
Okay. Did you guys get all that? So when we learn things, when we see pictures, we normally don't look at all the details. And this is trying to get you to look at the details and sense something. So in this picture, sense, what are you sensing? What do you know? Maybe you're kind of listening to something as you look at this or doing something. So look at this picture and you kind of know what I'm going to ask you.
And Susan, I'll just let our members know if you want to unmute yourself to answer Susan's questions in the next frame, please feel free.
Okay, you guys ready? Okay, how many animals were in the picture?
Ooh,
2. What kind of animals?
cat and a cow
Yeah, and what were they doing?
playing the fiddle and jumping over the moon.
Very good. And does everyone know the nursery rhyme for that?
Yes.
Hey, hey, diddle diddle.
Hey, Jack, the cat
The cat and the fiddle.
and the moon.
I jumped over the moon. So that was good. And what was one of them wearing? You can still kind of see it.
Mm,
That was kind of hard, huh? So I
yeah.
think there's a purple dress in
I think it's
there.
a purple dress. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the background?
With the grass and the stars, the sky.
Yeah. Should we go back and look at?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you think about it now, it's like, oh, party hat. The cat had a little party hat on. And that was like, is it a male or a female? It had a little bow tie. It looked like a little dress, flowery dress. But this was a nursery rhyme, so it might have been easier to remember different things. Okay, keep going. We're gonna get a little more harder now. Okay, so take in the smell to help you remember this picture too. Okay, ready? How many people were in the picture?
Three
3
And who was in the picture?
boys
3 boys
How were they positioned?
running.
running.
Running? And one was more ahead of the other 2 boys. And where were they?
On the
On the
beach.
beach.
And what was the weather like?
Sunny.
Oh, I thought, well, yeah, it was sunny. Foggy. I don't know.
I think the sun was setting. And what were they doing?
Flying a plane.
Right. So should we go back and look? I think the sun was setting in this one.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was good. I think there might be mountains in the background there. But are you looking at pictures differently and thinking more, using more of your senses?
Okay.
And sometimes you think about a beach. If we thought about a beach right now, we could use all the senses. Because we think about maybe it's a little windy, so it'd be cool. It'd be on our skin, it'd be windy. Or it might be sunny, we'd feel that on our skin. We might smell the ocean. We might hear the seagulls. We might have the sand under our feet. Maybe we're even, if we open our mouth, that salt water, that saltness gets in our mouth. So we can use all our senses there. Okay, the next picture is this one. Okay, you ready? How many people were in the picture?
One.
1
Who was in the picture and what color and style was their hair?
little girl with curly hair,
Red hair.
Yeah.
red hair,
What was the person wearing?
sweater and a skirt,
Yeah. What was she doing?
Making her
writing a letter,
with Santa.
probably. Mhm.
That probably was Santa, because what time of year was it?
Christmas.
Christmas.
And what was next to the person? Big old girl.
Christmas tree.
And what was on the floor next to her?
Presents.
Presents.
Do you remember how many presents?
3.
4.
Maybe 4 or 5.
I think it was 4. Should we go back?
Yeah. 4. Right.
Yeah. But very good. Yeah. I think she's writing a letter to Santa. Okay.
Susan, I found those easy to remember, but when I'm looking at sort of an artist depiction of a picture as opposed to a photograph, I feel like it's harder to evoke the senses that you're talking about. Like when you see a photo of the beach, I can, right, smell it, feel it. But when it's like a storybook picture, I don't get
Mhm.
the pine tree or stuff like that.
So if you smell, you remember, use your senses. So if you're looking at the picture, you smell the tree.
Mm.
So try to use all your senses to do that. Yeah. So this is the next one. This is the last one. It's the hardest. Okay, you guys got it?
Okay.
Okay. How many people were in the picture?
Mm,
And who was in the picture?
A woman.
Woman.
Yeah. It was hard to see. I think there was someone on a boat in the background.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. What was the person doing, or what were the people doing?
Fishing. The one on the boat fishing and the woman is sitting.
Yeah. And what time of year might it be?
Spring.
I think summer,
Summer.
Okay.
spring or summer, yeah.
I wouldn't have it in summer.
It was kind of a overcast summer.
Yeah.
What was the person sitting on?
A bench.
And what was next to the person? There was something laying on the bench next to her.
A jacket. Coat.
And something else.
Oh.
Like a scarf.
Yep, a scarf. Yep. And what was in the background?
Water.
Mountains. Another boat. Water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where was the person?
On the dock.
Yep. Very good. Okay, so now another way you can do things is you're fine. Yeah.
Okay.
is you can use 5 words to make a story. And just remember to use your senses. So if you all have a piece of paper and pencil, and if you write a story about these 5 words, and then how you use this would be, you would write the story at breakfast, then at lunch you would try, if you needed to read your story again, and then at dinner you would try to remember the 5 words or what your story was about. So this would help you remember things. So these words are totally unrelated, but we want to make a story about them. And it's a short story. Okay, so I'll tell you my story. Then if you want to share some of your stories. So I said the tomato colored bird was sitting on the bench that was on the grass looking at the clouds. So it could be simple one sentence thing. Or you could, anyone want to read their story? Okay, Shirley. You have to unmute your, okay, good.
I was sitting on a bench looking at the clouds. A bird flew by and dropped a tomato in my lap and it rolled into the grass.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, teacher. Wait, you have to unmute yourself. Thanks, yeah.
I don't know, Shirley, we might be thinking along the same lines. It's scary. I was sitting on a bench with a beautiful cloud in the sky, watching a bird try to eat a tomato in the grass.
Oh, very good. So, and then think about tonight, you know, what were the words? Or think about later today, what were the words? Can you remember them? And that's just using your mind. Does anyone else want to read another story? Or I have another 5 words. And then once you get good at this, you can add 6 words, 7 words, and just find words in a book. Just pick them out in a book, in a newspaper, anything. Ask someone to give you 5 words. So how about these 5 words? Okay, does anyone want to read their story?
I will, Susan.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so at the campsite, I tied my dog's leash to a rock and sat at the table. My pants ripped on the rough wood and I had to go back to the car to change them.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Betty?
You go ahead and unmute yourself.
Oh, I did.
Good, you're good.
I had just put on my pants going out to the car when a strange dog came bounding down the driveway. I picked up a rock under the front table at my door and threw it at the dog.
Oh, thank you. Very cute. Anyone else?
It's crazy.
Mhm.
Okay. A car drove by and threw a rock and hit my dog. I jumped on the table and tore my pants.
Cute. And sometimes the more outrageous, the easier it is to remember. So you might tonight, remember those words that were so outrageous. So, or the story. So that's really good. So before we go to that, you know what, let's do another exercise. It's not on here, but I'm going to give you a list of 6 words, and there's going to be 2 categories. So when you hear the words, I don't want you to, don't write anything down. Think about what the words are and think what category they could go into. So it'll be 6 words in 2 categories. So just listen to it and use your senses and think about, do I like this? Do I not like this? Picture it, maybe smell it, taste it. Try to use all your senses to remember what they were. And then I'll say, after I finish the 6 words, I'll say, write down the 2 categories and then what were the words under the categories. So just listen. Asparagus, apple, cabbage, pear, broccoli, watermelon. Go ahead, 2 categories, and what were the words underneath them? You can write now. Okay, so what were the 2 categories?
I did fruit and vegetable.
Yep, did everyone get that? Fruit and vegetables? Okay, and what
Yes.
were some of the fruits?
Apple.
Apple, yep.
Pear.
Pear, yep.
Watermelon.
Yep, watermelon. Did everyone get all 3?
No, I got 5.
Okay,
That's 3 fruits. I only got 2 vegetables.
Yes.
okay, good. Okay. And what were the vegetables?
Broccoli,
Cabbage.
Cabbage.
cabbage, asparagus.
I forgot cabbage.
And had the other 2, how'd everyone do? Did you guys do okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. So does it help to visualize, to taste it, smell it, maybe have an emotion towards it? You know, maybe you like something, you didn't like something, so you forgot it, or
Yes.
all
Yes.
that? Oh, okay, good, good. And then when you go to the grocery store and you think about what you need at the grocery store, if you put them in categories. So if you think about dairy, okay, what do I need for dairy? I need maybe milk and cheese. And then what do I need for in the meat section? And you think about that. And I always tell people, go ahead, take your list, but try to memorize it before you go to the store and on your way to the store. And then try to do your grocery shopping and then look at your list before you leave the store. Because did you get what was on your list? And if you put them in categories, it may help you. And if you think, okay, I need 5 vegetables. Okay, 5, I'm gonna visualize on my hand. And maybe put those vegetables, okay, I need this, you know, asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. And you think about, okay, and then you picture it on your fingers and you go to the store and go, okay, 5, what 5 were they? Maybe that'll help you remember. So it's little memory tricks. So I teach more of this stuff in Brain Boot Camp. I teach about how the brain works, more about just learning strategies. Try not to multitask. Try to be really present. So when you're putting your keys down or your glasses down, you're saying, I'm putting them down here. And you keep saying, you know, don't put your keys down, run in to answer the phone and do this, that. And then, of course, you're to forget, because we all forget. We're multitasking. So it's like, try to be focused on certain things. So we do more games, more stuff in Brain Boot Camp. The next Brain Boot Camp is July 1st and July 8th from 1 to 3. And it'll be a Zoom class. And there it is. And you can call extension 117 is Veronica's phone number for extension. And Veronica is in charge of the wellness. And Rebecca had her email up there. It was Rebecca, I think, at jocelyncenter.org. And she's there to help anything you need. And once again, I am Susan Chinsky, Associate Marriage Family Therapist. And that's my information. And does anyone have any questions?
Let's see. I don't see any questions in the chat, although if you guys are looking for Rebecca's email, she is in the chat as well. She can answer questions about the Jocelyn programming or resources. That was really great, Susan. Thank you. One thing I've seen from observing, I've been working here since October. Pat, doing her meaningful conversations, they have the caregivers put together a memory box. And Pat, I don't know if we ever, I think you guys do talk about this, putting maybe a candle in or some perfume. I never really thought about the sense of smell being put into that box, but I think that would be really effective.
And we did in the role play use flowers.
Yep.
As something, a scent to the person, because she used to like to garden. So we had some flowers in the memory box, but you could use cookies or a candle, or like you said, perfume, something like that.
For like taste, with like an old-fashioned candy or something, if you knew.
Sure.
Candy.
Yeah, like if they like peppermint or chocolate or things like that.
Really neat ideas. Well, if we don't have any questions, just remember, everybody, please check out. Oh, Betty, go ahead. Nope. Okay. Susan, thank you so much for joining us. Please remember, everybody, to check out jocelyncenter.org. And I think you've given us some tips to use every day, especially with the grocery list. Although if I got out of the grocery store and realized I'd forgotten things, I'd be really upset.
That's what I say. Bring the list, and then before you leave, go ahead, check it off.
Before checkout, right? Okay.
Yeah. And one of the exercise things is I usually tell people, because it's so hot now, to get their exercise in, walk around the market, the perimeter of the market a few times before you start doing your marketing, your shopping.
Oh,
so
that is a good idea.
I don't know if you want to do it now with what's going on, but that was one of my suggestions before. And by the way, Rebecca's email is rebeccaR@jocelyncenter.org.
True. All right.
Mine's Susan C. So.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you,
and
Susan.
we will look forward to hearing more in the future.